Peace, everybody. Let's stand. Let's have a word of prayer. Butler will lead us in an opening prayer, get us started, get us off the launching pad tonight. Elder.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord Jesus, for this evening and prayer meeting, Lord God. We thank you, Lord God, for watching over us through our faith throughout the day, Lord God. And Lord, you have brought us to the open board prayer meeting. And we thank you for that, Lord. We pray for our pastor tonight, Lord God, that you would give him strength to be able to deliver what thus saith the Lord. We praise you and we bless you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Thanks. Amen.
All right, praise the Lord. Get a lot of round of applause for being. Praise God. All right, you may take your seats. I'll have more to say on tomorrow's Manning report regarding the vote to acquit today of Tribulation Trump and Mitt Romney's participation in that process and the entire scope. We'll work on that tomorrow. The Manning report, 10 a.m. God let us be able to have that hour. Tonight, in this brief prayer meeting session that we have, we always take up time to do some teaching, and then we spend a few minutes praying on our knees, which I think is very significant. 10, 15, 20 minutes on your knees is very powerful. And when we do it collectively as a family, Jesus said, wherever two or three are gathered together, and there I am in the midst, it's extremely powerful. And we have been teaching the power of 7, and that you can actually call miracles, have supernatural occurrences happen as a result of using the power of 7, whether 7 scriptures, 7 readings, 7 memories or writings or memorizations. And so it's been an extraordinary time since we started this 37 New Wine. Now tonight what I'd like to do is to teach, or at least just kind of go through some things, not so much as a teaching, but to make some announcements over this year. In just a few days, I'm going to be 73 years old. And the 20th of February, it's coming right up in not too many days. And 73, of course, is the opposite of 37, right? So, praise the Lord. And the 37, of course, this is my 37th year in leading this house. So 73, 70, 37, 37. So we're really becoming a mega numerologist these days, working on these numbers. But I'm sure you all agree that there's a lot of power associated with 7. There's a lot of power associated with 3. And that the numbers themselves are indeed, they're biblically ordained. And it's just that we have been able to discover them. I have taught years ago looking at a large number of things with respect to birth dates and what happens within the sphere of our being, is that 20 days before your birthday, you began to experience a phenomenal time. It's usually a good time. And it usually goes right into the time of your birth, 20 days prior to the fact that you came out of the womb. And then 30 days after your birth is also a continuous time. So those 50 days, that penta time, is a very important time of your birth. So I am now, 15 days, 14 and a half days away from my actual birthday on the 20th. This is the 5th of February, and January of this year, 2020, started. So just looking generally at everybody, rather than looking at myself so much, is that January was the first month where people started having birthdays in the new year. Everybody had birthdays last year all up until December 31st, and that concluded that year of birth and birthdays. Now we are at a new year, so there's been 31 days, and every day of January somebody had a birthday. And now we're 5 days into February, so we're starting the process now of New Year's, and everybody's going to have a birthday this year. Everybody, no matter who you are. Well, unless you leap year person, then you're in real trouble. We'll have to consider you at another time. But I'll be 73 in just a few days. And I'm thankful to the Lord for that process. I'm thankful that the 7 and the 3 is all working together. And I'm thankful that he's allowed me to, when I was out in Yosemite National Park last year, the Lord said to me that my life was just beginning. I was 72 at the time. And I'm thinking to myself, what on earth is Jesus talking about when he says that my life is just beginning? But I understood by way of the Spirit that what he was saying to me, that the first 72 years of my life were mediocre. Not that they were uninteresting to God or to me, but they pale in comparison to where my life is going to go from here on out, starting since the Yosemite Park event. And that really, maybe the mediocre, I would not say that my life was on mute, but none of the things that I was actually placed in the earth to do in the mind of God, the things that he has placed me in the earth to do, given me the talent to be able to do, that very few of any of those things were done in the first 72 years of my life. And not because I didn't want to do them, nor was it because I didn't understand how to do them. It was that it was not time. For instance, let's say Sarah, who was the wife of Abraham, who was going to give birth to Isaac, or Elizabeth, who was going to give birth to John the Baptizer, or Hannah, who was going to give birth to Samuel, or Joseph, who was going to be Zaphnath-Paaneah, second in command of all of Egypt. That the things that he was called in the earth to do, he didn't get a chance to do until well into his life. Moses, put in the Nile River by his mother. And he was 80 years old before he began to do what God called. I mean, Moses, he lived for 40 years in the palace, but that was nothing. It was insignificant. Then 40 years in the wilderness. He was 80 years old before he started to live. One of the more, contemporary stories that has years ago used to have a lot of preachers preaching about, a lot of other people talking about, was that Colonel Sanders of Kentucky, the man who started Kentucky Fried Chicken, was in his 70s before he actually put that recipe together and started a little restaurant at a little milkshake place out in Kentucky, and people just kept buying that chicken, that Kentucky Fried Chicken, and it became a world phenomenon. And he was nearly 80 years old when that happened to him. So I'm 73. I have no idea what God's going to do. All I know, it's going to be better now than it has ever been. One other thing I think I have observed, however, is that what the past 72 years of my life have been about, and the way I have functioned, is that my life has been a training process through adversity. That every year of the past 72 years of my life has been filled with some sort of adverse kind of condition and situation. And every one of those adverse situations that have come, and many of them been grievous. When I think about, people look at me and they probably can't think about me ever being on the chain gang. I mean, can you imagine me on a chain gang with a bush axe down in a ditch? It's probably just something most people can't relate to, but it really did happen to me. It really, I actually got up mornings and, had a man over me with a shotgun. But that way I was able to come through. So I have learned, my process of learning has been through adversity. By that I mean, there's never been a silver spoon for me. There's never been an easy way for me. Everything has been very difficult for me. Everything. There's nothing that's been easy for me. I was watching the television the other day, and they said that Hakim Jeffries graduated New York University Law School magna cum laude. That is the highest possible grade that anybody can attain in that particular graduation group. I mean, it's one thing to graduate with a 4.1 or 4.2, but magna cum laude, I mean, you did everything correct, you got nothing wrong. And he graduated in law school too, by the way. So, I graduated, you can graduate magna cum laude, summa cum laude, or just cum laude. Well, when I graduated, it was just, thank you, Lordy. It's always been a struggle for me. I really don't know a time when my life, I'd have to compartmentalize. I have to tell my problems, sit down over here for a while, and let me have some fun. But Jesus said that these days that are ahead of me are going to be the very best that I have ever lived. And by that, what he is saying is that I am going to begin to express my talents and all of the gifts that God put in me from the very foundation of my life, that they are going to be made manifest. A number of people said, well, this sermon was good, that sermon was good, etc. That has begun to happen in terms, to give you an idea of what I'm trying to say. I've been preaching, as you know, for 37 years. And many of you have witnessed me preach that long. Elder Hartfield sitting back there, Minister Williams, they've seen me preach. Butler seen me preach for 37 years. But somehow or another, people are beginning to say, you are preaching better now than you've ever. So that's just a brief, I suppose, compliment, a confirmation that my life is going to be better. And by that, I've discovered that nothing that God ever does for me is for me. It's always for you. So if things are going to be better for me, it means that things are going to be better for you. Now, we have a foreclosure issue coming up. It's going to happen. It needs to happen. It will happen. I can't say more about it now publicly or what will take place, but we need it to happen. We need it to happen for this reason. We need it to happen for New Jerusalem. We need it to happen to finally mark what Harlem has become and what we are, and we need to have that contest. We absolutely must have it. So it'll come and you'll hear about it, etc., and we'll deal with it as such. But God has allowed adversity to be the way we have been promoted. And one of the things that I think is important as well is that even in this church, I don't know there has ever been a march held against any other organization in New York City of late by the gay community except over us, by us. I mean, whether it was a Catholic church or whether it was some organization or whether it was Chick-fil-A or we're the only ones that have stirred the gay community to the point where they would hold some sort of a march against us. I'm looking at, really when God spoke the word outlaw to me, I have to tell you this. I appreciate it, and you know I did. For 29 years, I have continually said it. I've never missed a day without saying it. It's a part of my prayer. It's a part of your prayer life. It's a part of the children's prayer life. It's a part of all the outlaw. That's what God said. But I have to tell you that the full revelation of that word, I did not until recently in this 37-year period, that I fully and truly have a grip on it. I told you that Elijah came to visit me. Now, a lot of people hear me, especially people online. If you're not close to me, if y'all don't know me, watch what I eat and what I go, you might think that I'm just some preacher spouting off things. So, I'm not requiring anybody to believe me. I'm not requiring you to do that. That's not necessary. But I do require you just listen. And your heart will tell you what's right and what's wrong. But, I said Elijah came to visit me, and he did in the year 2006. And I don't know that And he did. He absolutely did. And he left me with the word that it was the word that he left me with when displayed indicates that I had to get that from that mighty prophet Elijah. And the word was the 7th degree of evangelism. And that the universe is, and the planet Earth is set up on such a wise that entering it at the 7th degree is a gate. And any object coming from outer space, if it doesn't enter in at the 7th degree, it'll burn up. Asteroids or other kinds of boulders or things falling from the universe and come into the earth will burn up. Or spaceships returning from outer space, if they come in other than at the 7th degree, they too will be consumed. And so, until they discovered this, they used to put heat shields on those returning rockets because they weren't aware of the 7th degree. So they put heat shields, these shields on those rockets, the returning capsules rather. So when they entered back into the Earth's atmosphere, the shield that they would put on, sort of a ceramic seal, would consume the heat until it would finally pass the time. But now that you can just come in, if you're entering in at the 7th, as Elijah told me, it's like a gateway. It's like you're just walking in. Over here is extreme danger. Over here is extreme danger. But if you're in the 7, you're in absolute safety. And he said that to me, and now I know how he called down fire from heaven. Because the boulders coming in, fire was so intense it burnt the boulders that were around the altar, if you remember the Elijah event. There's no way I could have known that unless Elijah actually told me. But I'm 73 now. I never use a handrail when I go up and down the stair. I don't hold on to the handrail to walk when I go up, when I go down. And sometimes I'm very tired. And I'm referencing that to kind of talk about at this age, I'm amazed at my own agility. The other day, Victory was, I don't know where she was in the pulpit or something, and I was getting ready to go downstairs to have lunch. And so Victory, I think she jumped off of here. You know she does that, right? Then she went down the stairs here and she was jumping like 3 stairs at a time. You ever see kids do that? They don't do 1 stair. They just jump from, if I did that, I'd surely break my neck. And you would too. And then I'm just watching her jump down the stairs. Now that's true youth. Trust me. But I never use to point out that whatever it is that I have to do, that God has given me the youth and the strength to be able to accomplish whatever's going to happen. And I really don't know what God's going to do this year. I don't. I'm receiving all this information from the Lord, and I'm like, what is this? What is going on? That God is speaking all of these things, and that 7th gate and the 7th power and the 3 witnesses and the 7 calls, humanity and the 7 churches and the hidden manna and the new name. What is all of this? Because I've taught Revelation before, that the Lord is doing. So my birthday is going to be on Thursday, I believe. And I'm going to celebrate it up at the ski mountain with the young people. And we're going to go out that night after they're going to ski all day long. And then we're going to go out that night and have a big bang bang birthday up at the mountain with the young people. It's going to be a great time. We're going to treat them to a great meal. Anyway, but I'm going to celebrate my birthday with people I love, right? Well, if I know something, it would be the same thing with you, but these young people, after skiing all day, and you know what happens? You ski all day, whether you realize it or not, skiers understand this. You know, being on that cold mountain and being on that cold snow is very exhilarating. And especially, one of the things I've discovered, the reason why I like to go up there, is to take these young people, they're breathing air in the Bronx, breathing air here in Harlem, and it's stagnant, right? It is. It's cloudy. You're walking on concrete, but you get up down that mountain, the air is fresh, and it's cold, and it's crisp, and it gets down in your lungs, and it's almost like dope. It's not only just fun to be able to ski, but it's fun to be invigorated by that clean air, about that fresh air, and be on those mountains and all that. So the young people, they sleep like babies, so we're going to do that. So I'm going to celebrate my birthday. Then we're going to come back and have a major birthday celebration here at the church, something I've never done before, so I think I'll do that now with the young people on that Saturday. Now, on March the 7th, we're going to have the crowning of the elders. Now, if you look at the calendar, the first day of the week in March comes in on a Sunday. It's the first day. And the first week ends on a Saturday, which is the seventh day. It only happens twice this year that the 7 days are in contiguous order from Sunday to Saturday. That only happens twice, once in March and once in November, I think. And we'll look at that. You'll get your calendar when you get an opportunity to look at it. And it's fascinating because March is the third month, and we're going to have the elders crowning on the seventh day of the third month. Again, that 37. I mean, it's just